Hello and welcome back to this SlimDevOps Live. This is episode 7. Hello again, Peter. How are you?
Hey, Martin. Good. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. I've got far too many windows open on the screen in front of me at the moment, but other than that, just fine. How are you?
Computer's just chugging away.
I
Yeah, I'm doing well. I switched over to the Linux side of the house for today's demo, so that's always a little bit of an adventure on my side. But so, yeah. So I wanted to ask you about the game jam. That was pretty cool. I saw caught your live stream of the game jam. You developing a game and
yeah, that's one of those little bucket list things. I've been meaning to learn Godot for a couple of years, which is a game engine, an open source game engine. And yeah, I saw that there was a game jam happening, which was a 2-week long jam. So I thought that seems like enough time to sort of try and make something and participate. So I did. I made a game, simple game. But then as part of the sort of reciprocal nature of all of this, you are encouraged to try other submissions in the jam and sort of rate and review. So yeah, I did a live stream on my own channel looking at some of these games from the jam. And I'll be doing the same over the weekend. It was a lot of fun. It was a nice little aside. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely kind of laughing along as you did the chicken game. I think was perhaps my favorite, maybe your most frustrating one. But the some of them were really quite well done, though. They were really, really well done.
Yeah, it's very impressive, and it just goes to show, there's a lot of appetite out there for people that want to learn either, a new technology or get into creating games. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and also it's given me some inspiration for games in containers, for example.
Yeah. We've been looking into that. I think we're going to do a blog post on something like that. We actually have a lot of people who do different games in containers. I was wondering, there are a couple of them. So one of them I know, right, which is Minecraft, right, which I'm sure you've played a bunch before. That's pretty popular.
Actually, no, I'm a bit of a Minecraft newbie. I've really got almost zero experience with it.
Okay. Yeah, my brother was super into it. I've never really played. I tend to like those world building games, but never got into that. But yeah, apparently a lot of people, there's some good Docker containers out there that host Minecraft servers. People run them on their own home servers and do that. There are two others that we were looking into. I wasn't as familiar with. I don't know if you are Factorio. Have you played that?
No, I haven't. No, is that something you've had a go at?
No, I was looking into it though. It looks pretty cool. It's like, it's like kind of you have factories and mines and you kind of build a city, and it's sort of one of those, you have to levels of production, kind of like one of those, 1880 games or whatever, so, but that was one of the more popular Docker containers. So I think I'm going to play around with that one a little bit. And one I think you might know is Trackmania.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, this is a game franchise that's been around for a while, but there's one version of it, Trackmania Nations Forever, which is a free-to-play game, which has like a built-in server in the client, the game itself, or you can host a game server. Okay. And I think it's been around for over 10 years, this game. And it is a wildly popular, racing game with people hosting their own servers with custom tracks and all sorts of, modifications and what have you. And it's actually, given its age as well, it's actually a bit of a faff to sort of set up and run a server. But I see there's some well-maintained Docker containers of that particular game server. And Minecraft as well is interesting because there are sort of different communities that play Minecraft in different ways. Mm-hmm. And on the server side of things, I am familiar with what's going on there. There's different modifications for if you want to increase the drop rates, or if you want to, have a particular type of game that you want to compete in and compare yourself against, other people. So there's a bunch of different sort of Minecraft variations with different mods and what have you preloaded. So it's definitely an interesting domain.
That's cool. Yeah.
Anyone watching this, who's thinking, oh, I know of a really cool game server, we'd love to hear more. So, you can tweet us at SlimDevOps on Twitter, or if you're watching this back on YouTube, then leave a comment on the video. We're on the lookout for some interesting game servers that are either in containers already or maybe don't have a container, we're interested in investigating that too.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe we could do a few examples. I was a big Arc player for a while, and I know some people run some game servers on that. I don't know if they have Docker containers, but I would be down to do an Arc server at some point. That would be pretty fun. So
nice. Yeah. So I've been fiddling around with computer games. What have you been up to? I hear that you've been working hard on the early access to the platform, right?
Yeah. So I've been doing a little bit. Our engineering and development team has been doing the big heavy lifting there, of course. But we're getting the platform, the Slim.AI platform, kind of ready for some more eyeballs, and we're not exactly to a full state yet with it, but we're bringing a few people in to give us some feedback, kind of kick the tires on what we've built so far. Again, this is kind of a thinner slice of what the ultimate platform will be when we're sort of fully baked, but it's kind of, we wanted to sort of build in public and show it to people, and we'll take a look at one of the features later on in the stream when we kind of diff a Slim container versus an original container. We'll do that on the Slim platform, but yeah, it's been pretty fun and exciting. It's just, there's a million little things to get right as you kind of get these things out the door. And then, as we get later into the fall, we'll really open up like a full, sort of a full beta experience. But for right now, we just want to show it to a few people. So it's a limited number of people that will get in, but if anybody's interested and, wants to check out what we're building over there, come join our Discord, get an invite code, or just go to the Slim.AI website and sign up, as long as, there's still invites available. So,
yeah. And I think you're going to be showing us a little bit of what the platform has to offer a bit later in this stream.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to that.
Cool.
So we've got a couple of things, a bit of show and tell. We've already sort of buried the lead with what Pieter's going to be doing in a little bit. So we'll just have a quick review. With Pieter's help, in fact, we put out another article on dev.to, and this is the second of a two-part series around how to improve your Dockerfile to make production-ready containers. Excuse me. So this is the second part. So the first part was very much, these are the low-hanging fruit. So you'll be able to access the first part here. And in the second part, it digs into a bit more detail about what you want to do if you want to take things sort of next level. So first thing we talk about here is we've obviously got an interest. One of the areas of expertise we have is making container images smaller. Now, you can do that with our technologies, and we'll touch on that in just a moment when we get further into the article. But one of the sort of, ways that is popular among the sort of container community is to use Alpine Linux instead of, say, something like Ubuntu or Red Hat or Debian as sort of the base operating system, because Alpine has been deliberately architected to be as small as possible to give you what we used to call just enough operating system. So that's what Alpine provides, and you can see some significant wins in terms of image sizes by moving to Alpine. And there's an example here using a container of the week image, one of ours, and it looks at the just node in a container from the Alpine version versus, I think, a version that's based on Ubuntu by default. And there's a significant, difference in size there. So that looks like a big win on the face of it. But it's not always as sort of, as with all things in life, it's never all upside. So some of the other things that you need, so we go into some of the other things you need to be aware of with Alpine here. Some, of course, is that it's not as widely used. Well, it's used, widely within the container ecosystem, but consequently, there's not as much documentation and community support out there for Alpine. And some of the common tooling you expect to find in your containers, not there. So you kind of have to become a sort of distribution maintainer of sorts, because if you start with Alpine, you usually have to build up more of the underlying sort of operating system and platform to meet all of the requirements of your app. And the way in which you do that is using a different package manager that may not be as familiar to you as you are with, distributions that have, a more wide use and documentation. So that's one thing. And then we talk about multi-stage builds, and this is a fairly new capability in Docker. And this is a mechanism by which you effectively build your container more than once, in this case, twice. And the advantage here is that you can create the initial image, which you can use for sort of development iteration, and then the derivative image, which is like your production image. And the advantage here is that you're able to make a smaller or optimized image in that second stage of the multi-stage build. So that's sort of the advantage there. But because it's new, it's still a little bit complex. So this is, an area for improvement in terms of developer experience, I think. And then we see another sort of emerging trend within the container ecosystem, which is Buildpaks. And there's a couple of technologies that are being used to facilitate this, Pack and Waypoint. And this is a means by which you can deploy to, for example, things like Heroku and Google more simply, and you can declare what's in your Docker image, your container image, without using a Dockerfile. They sort of have alternative syntax for actually composing what's in your container. So this looks like an interesting and emerging area, but again, it's quite new, it's quite fresh, and when they do work, they're terrific, but there are many cases when you can run into brick walls. And then, of course, we round out this article talking about DockerSlim, and obviously, as you will know if you've been here before, and hello Monica, I see you in the chat, that Slim.AI, the commercial sponsor of DockerSlim, and DockerSlim can automate an awful lot of these minification processes. So, if you go back to something like, the Alpine example, the principles of Alpine are you start with something small and then you build it out. But with DockerSlim, you can tip that and invert it, and you can start with, say, Ubuntu, with a rich set of developer tools in a container image, and then DockerSlim can trim out everything that's not required. So you can take your developer-friendly image and then turn that into a production-ready image. But then, again, life is full of, options, and some people find that the DockerSlim sort of learning curve is steep. And if they're coming into containers new as well, then it can, make that even more complex. So, what we're doing at Slim.AI is taking DockerSlim and building a platform around it to expose those advanced capabilities of DockerSlim with a much better developer experience and tooling. And I think that's something you're going to show us in just a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's great. Yeah. I think something we hear a lot with kind of people getting into different like slimming techniques, right? Like Alpine's the one that everybody like hears about all the time, right? That's like I get a new tutorial emailed to me in my like Medium or whatever Reddit newsletters every day. That's like, just switch out to Alpine and then it works and it's good. But I think sometimes, what people run into issues downstream once they've built that Alpine image and get that original one over time. And that's what we've heard from people. So that's kind of challenging. But yeah, I thought this was a really interesting exploration, Martin. One thing I noticed was all kinds of different results out of these, like Alpine gave like Slim the image some, multi-stage builds did it to a different degree. DockerSlim did it to another degree. Each different build pack sort of had a different result. So they're all doing it slightly differently, achieving the same goals, but in a very different way.
Indeed. What's also interesting about that is there's a bunch of technologies that are all focused on, one core, capability, which is to make container images smaller, because deployment time is, becoming more and more important to CI/CD pipelines, and the larger your image, the slower your deployment turnaround is, the slower your development, iteration to production is, and making images smaller is just one way in accelerating that process.
Yeah, and I think so the example, maybe that's a nice segue to the example I was hoping to show, which was it kind of begs the question of like what's going on, right? Like what's the difference between the Buildpak image, the multi-stage build image, the Alpine image, like what are the actual files and instructions and stuff like that that's changed. So yeah, our team, the engineering team at Slim was thinking about that a lot. And like, we get a pretty common question like, okay, so you ran DockerSlim on your container. What did it take out? Did it take out anything that I needed in there? Did it take out anything that's unexpected? Did it leave anything in there that I don't want in there? And so they started building out a diff functionality, and that's what we'll show today. And I'll actually use the example of not quite as robust as the example you built out here with the node container and the Buildpaks and all that, but actually using the Python Flask example that we did a couple weeks ago on the show, where we actually slimmed that container. So using this tool, I'll actually be able to show like what was actually taken out of that during that process. So
yeah, it's a powerful tool. And when we had Eric on, we used this tooling, which was completely behind closed doors, in order to debug some of the issues that Eric Nance had run into with R and Shiny applications in containers. And we had somebody else who hey, maybe we'll get on in a future show, so I'm not gonna say their name at the moment, but they had a similar issue with a different technology stack, and we directed them to our platform, which is in early access for interested parties, to help diagnose that. And I think that's what you're gonna show us now.
Yeah, I can jump over there. So I'm showing the wrong thing already. So cool. So yeah, so we did a little blog post on this, and here you'll be able to see the the early access invite code as well, but we can share that with people. So what we're looking at here is just a blog post, and then I'll jump into the example. But what we're doing is we're taking a DockerSlim container or a container that we slimmed using DockerSlim, and we have the original and we have the Slim image. And we're going to push those up to Docker Hub, and then we're going to pull them into the Slim platform. And then we're going to look at a file difference between the two of those. And that's going to be the goal. And hopefully what we get out of that is the ability to see sort of what changed, what was deleted, of course, from the original image to the Slim image. And then what was, if any modifications happened, if anything was actually added. Hopefully not added, but you can imagine a use case where you are seeing files that are added. And we'll take a look at what that is. So just as a quick reminder to people, what we did was we ran a very basic Hello World Python Flask application, and we ran that through DockerSlim, and we slimmed it, and it went from almost 900 megabytes to 48 megabytes. And that, I think, was, Slim.AI or SlimDevOps Twitch number 004 on our YouTube. If you missed it, feel free to watch that again. We won't go through that whole process again, but I will go into kind of let me just share my, I'm going to share my go over to my terminal real quick, and just hopefully you're seeing the terminal right now and you can see. So, okay, so I had this image. Oh, did I break it?
No, you've shared the terminal as your, hang on. I don't quite understand what happened there, but maybe we can do that.
All right,
something.
Hold on. Let me. Oh no. See, no matter how much you practice these things, here you go. Actually, I don't know that we practice this one a ton. So what did I do? Okay, so. All right, so if you can see the screen share, all I have here is the two images that I created last time, the Slim image, and this is the one that DockerSlim output, and then I have the original image. So the first thing that I want to do is actually, I just want to re-tag the Slim image, because when I push it up to the registry on DockerSlim, I'm going to want those sort of like living in the same repo or like under the same tag name. And the reasons for that will become clear in a second, but let me just do this and I can show you. It'll actually help me when I go to diff them. So what I'm gonna do here is actually, I'm just going to, I'm effectively just renaming this file so that instead of being called COTW, container of the week, Python flask.slim, it is going to be container of the week, Python flask with the version or tag name slim, right? So I've done that, and then I'm just going to push that file. Hopefully this works. If it doesn't, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to push this file up to Docker Hub, the one that I just retagged. Tag does not exist. Okay. I'm not exactly sure why that didn't work, but let's just see. Maybe something went wrong with the tag. Oh, I think I know what it is. Is that because this needs to be latest? If this doesn't work, then that's fine. We'll just jump over into the other side of the house. Okay, I guess that's not working. So maybe I did something to mess up my tags, but that's okay. We'll just keep moving. Okay. I'm going to change up my screen share. What did I just do? And go back over to, oh, you know what? Martin, I know what I did wrong. If you go back to the last view that I had, I can actually,
this view?
Yeah, where it says the, go back to the one with the web browser in it, actually, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So, okay. So what I've done is I've now theoretically pushed this up to Docker Hub, and oh, I know exactly what I did wrong, and that's why I wasn't on screen. And there we go. Okay, now we're all back. Adventures in live streaming. So, all right, we're back. We're online, and hopefully everybody can see. So, in the Slim.AI platform, we have this ability to connect to, say, Docker or Google Container Registry or Amazon Web Services, ECR. And I've already gone through, I won't do it live on here because it involves access codes and these kinds of security things, but I have an authenticated Docker Hub profile here that I've already connected, which allows me in the platform to go through and go see my connected registries on the platform. And I know we've looked at a couple things in the Slim.AI platform before. I'll zoom in a little bit, try to make that a little more clear. But this is the Slim PSV Docker Hub repo that I was working with before that I pushed to from the command line. And you can see now that I have these two images, which are similar to the ones that were in my Docker images in the command line. But since I did that retagging exercise, and I actually did it before when it worked, so now I have these two images as different versions of each other. So I have a latest version and I have a slim version. And you could rename these things pretty much anything you want, and people use semantic versioning to name things, and that always works really well. But in this case, I was really just changing this slim image to this image. They're functionally the same and everything to do this exercise. So if I click on the latest one, I'm going to get a bunch of different information about that container. If you remember, we built that one off the Python base image. We added a simple Flask API to it. And, we looked into kind of like what was inside that container and how big it was. And so this is the original 900 megabyte image, and it takes a little while to scan because it's pretty large. But then when I look at it, I can kind of go through and get a bunch of different versions. And so here I see the one that I slimmed previously, along with a bunch of other information that's in that container, including sort of like a file explorer that lets you see the files that are inside of it. And what I wanted to look at today for this example is actually this diff functionality, which looks pretty similar to the file explorer. So I'm going to click on the diff. So here I've got the Slim image and I'm in the latest image. So I'm going to click on the diff here. And that's actually going to bring me to this screen, which says, okay, let's look at the Slim image versus the latest image. I'm actually going to just flip these so that we're looking from sort of the large image down to the small image, because that's a little more, makes a little more sense in this use case. You could use those drop downs to kind of look at any of the different images. And so what the system's doing now is it's actually like looking between those two images and saying like, okay, well, what happened when you went from this latest image to this Slim image? We know that it got a lot smaller, but what did it actually do? And here I can go into the different files and folders and see that, okay, well, actually it removed the requirements.txt file. That's, where you store all of your dependencies in a Python application. So, okay, that's pretty interesting. Like, it doesn't need that in production. So it makes sense that we would take it out. It, of course, took out the shell and all these different, kind of utilities and things that you would use in the shell, and all of those different files and folders. And I can actually do some filtering here to say, okay, well, it actually like deleted a lot of stuff. It didn't modify anything, which is nice. But it did actually add 5 files as it went from one to the other. So I don't exactly know why it would have added files, but that's good to know on my side. And you can do some different filtering things to show text files versus the binary files, and you can decide which columns you want. Of course, you might be interested if the file was modified to know, did the permissions change in this file? You might be interested to know, how does that size compare to something else? And then, I'm going to go back to, if you remember sort of the deletions, we have a lot of deletions in here. I might be interested, did it take out something that, I don't know if libc is in here, but like maybe I'm curious to know like certain libraries that got removed, and I can go in and search and kind of see what got removed if I was interested in, different libraries, or maybe I knew something was going to kind of like lazy load later and I wanted to whitelist that to make sure it stayed in the container for functionality. Then I could do that. We're working on adding much more to this. So like we said, platforms in beta, and I think that's as much as we can show for right now in the diff feature. But it is pretty interesting. And I think like our goal, I think we want to have, one of our engineers come on the show and do sort of a full diff of, probably a much more interesting container than this Hello World example. But I think people, to answer that question of like, okay, so I used DockerSlim or multi-stage build or Buildpak, whatever I use to create my production ready container. And I'm curious how it differs from my development container or my, kind of staging container or whatever that case is. Or if I want to see the difference from one version to another, I can use this tool to effectively go in and do that. And I think that's pretty interesting. So,
indeed. And in this example, let's just look at a couple of things that we've touched on there. So first of all, there were some files that were added, and that's because one of the things that DockerSlim requires is that the container is stimulated so it can observe what's changed in order to work out what to remove and what to keep. In the case of Python, what happens is as the app runs, it compiles the Python bytecode. So those PYC files were the compiled bytecode, which is actually advantageous because although it's added something to the container, it does mean that it doesn't have to recompile that bytecode in order for the application to run next time. And as you can see, they're relatively small. And then when you look at the deletions, where that's useful is as the sort of domain expert in the application that you're putting into a container, you may be able to spot things that DockerSlim has removed that you actually need for your application to work. Maybe the integration test that you ran in order to stimulate the container for DockerSlim to observe what's happening didn't include a particular test that exercised all of the code. So one of these libraries got ripped out that actually it would need if you went down a different, execution path of the application. And you can see here everything that got taken away. And then using DockerSlim's include path feature, you can override and say, yes, go ahead and remove a bunch of stuff, but I really, really, really want these things to be included in the slimmed container. So, where this becomes useful. And I think how we, develop this tool to make that an easier process is going to be good. And, for people that are interested, the URL is above us. It's Slim.AI. And we do have a few invite codes available, and you can see it in the banner at the top of the site. So if you would like to explore some of those features that Pieter's just been demoing, then visit Slim.AI and sign up for an invite and give it a try. And join our Discord, which is also in the footer of the URL above, and share your feedback. We've had a number of people do this already, and we're getting some great feedback on where we can improve and add new capability.
Awesome. Yeah, we hope everybody can come jump in and give it some feedback. And hello to Monica. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for stopping by again, Monica. The short link is under the, I can't never point the right way, is under the thing there as well. So Cutley/Slim Early Access. I think for this episode, that just about wraps everything up, doesn't it? So if you want to follow on, you may be watching this on YouTube, in which case, congratulations for finding our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Twitch and you want to see the back catalogue, we've referred to a number of things we've done previously. That's all on our YouTube channel, and again, you can find that linked in the website above, and also in the Twitch panels and what have you below this page. And do come and join us in our Discord. We've got a number of things that we're going to turn on for community members over the next week or so, and you'll hear about that first in our Discord server. So come and join us over there. So Pieter, where can people find you in the meantime?
I am at PSVann, VANN, at Twitter.
And I'm M_Wimpress, and we are SlimDevOps, so you can find us at SlimDevOps on Twitter. So if you've got any questions or follow up on any of this, you can also tweet at us there as well, and we'll answer your questions or join us in the Discord.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks very much, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one, which will be about the same time next week.
Yep, same time, same place. See you then.
Bye for now.